Thanks for staying with us on World Now. We're talking about the Israel-Hamas war. And joining us for more on that is Global Affairs Analyst Olabode Sani. Thank you for joining us on World Now. Well, first, let's begin.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right. Let's begin with your take about, this expansion of, operation by Israel in Rafah, despite the warnings and pleas with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
Thank you for having me again. The expansion thing has been there for God knows how many years. I can say since 1948. It's only been there since the emergence of Israel. Israel allows us in the neighbors as their enemy for some good reasons. I mean, whatever reasons they are. But the sad thing is those who want to go wrong or whatever, they will always make the mistake of thinking or believing that they can do it alone. It's surprising that despite the fact that most of the allies, especially the number one ally of Israel is USA, saying that we are not going to support another move of attacking Rafah or continue to want to expand beyond where you are now, is going to the deaf ear that Israel is not interested. They believe in they can do it alone. So the world will have to wait and see what is going to be the end of all this. It's becoming more dangerous because it's becoming more dangerous in the sense that the peace of the world is being threatened. That's my initiative.
And talking about the world waiting, the world probably thought that by now this would be over. It's 7 months counting, but then it doesn't seem to be abating. Already from the eastern part of Rafah, where people have been told to evacuate now, about 100,000 Palestinians have already fled, and medics themselves are overwhelmed. This is a humanitarian catastrophe. What is the way out?
The way out is, again, the possible pressure the allies of Israel can put on them. Because as it is, Israel has an upper hand in terms of military to sustain any offensive move, anything they want to do to annihilate. Let me use the word. I choose that word. They wanted to destroy Hamas vis-a-vis Palestine. And the only way out is, like I said, Western world to stand their ground, to insist that you do it, you're going to be on your own, and you might even make us to turn the table against you. With that kind of warning, the Prime Minister and his cohorts might start thinking that, well, look, you know what, let's stop for a while now, even though there's no sign of there's going to be peace in another 10, 20, 30 years in that region. So again, to re-emphasize, the way forward is that the Western world should call Israel to stop what they are doing, because it's getting too much.
But how effective do you think the calls would be? Because one would have thought that U.S., which is a very strong ally of Israel, I mean, with a call from the president to Prime Minister Netanyahu to pause, or there'll be a stop in shipment, one would have thought that that should be strong enough to make him reconsider his decision. But it doesn't appear to be making a lot of impact, because he has now said that, Israel can actually stand alone. So where does that leave us?
That leaves us with the probability that the double dealings, the double phase of, as I don't want to start mentioning names now, some of this Western world were allies of Israel, that they may probably just be talking and not doing the talking. I mean, they're not doing the walking. They just say, well, stop. So just like when you are using a kid glove to child someone. Stop now. Don't do that. But you're right to think that despite the announcement that USA say we are going to stop shipment of X amount of whatever to you unless you stop. How serious are they? How effective that threats are? It's very difficult to say. And I'm sure Israel will now say, you know what, we're going to continue to do what we want to do, and we can always come back and talk. And I think that is where we are now. So the lesson here is the double standard of the Western world. How serious are they when they are saying they don't want to continue to support Israel? And that's an issue.
Well, that's a huge question, really, because the U.S., despite that warning, has said that they would ensure that Israel is secure. Olabode Hussein is a global affairs analyst. Thank you so much for talking to us on World Now.
Thank you very much for having me.
And away from that, let's talk about another issue of conflict. People in several regions of Ukraine have been experiencing power blackouts after the latest wave of Russian attacks on the country's energy infrastructure. President Volodymyr Zelensky said there had been missile and drone attacks on critical energy facilities in 7 regions. In posts on social media, President Zelensky said more than 50 missiles and 20 drones had been fired by Russia, hitting facilities in several regions. Ukraine's national electricity company, Ukrenergo, said there were new blackouts in 9 regions and warned of possible power cuts across the country as a result of the new damage and ongoing fighting. Elsewhere, India's Supreme Court has ordered the temporary release on bail of jailed Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal, a key opposition leader, which will allow him to campaign in the ongoing general election. In a decision issued on Friday, Supreme Court Justices Sanjeev Khanna and Dipankar Datta said Kejriwal could leave custody until the 1st of June, the last day of voting in the 7-phase polls that started on 19th of April. The court ordered Mr. Kejriwal, who was arrested in a corruption case in March, to surrender on the 2nd of June. The results of the world's largest election are to be announced on the 4th of June, with Prime Minister Narendra Modi seeking a 3rd straight term after running a divisive campaign pitting his Hindu nationalist Bharatiya Janata Party against an alliance of 26 opposition parties led by the Indian National Congress. Mr. Kejriwal's AAP, which is part of the Indian National Development Inclusive Alliance, has called the case against him fabricated and politically motivated. AAP is a challenger to the BJP-led National Democratic Alliance in Delhi and the northern state of Punjab, where voting will take place on 25th of May and 1st of June, respectively. Let's turn attention to the United Kingdom, where official figures have now shown that the UK has come out of a short and shallow recession, giving Prime Minister Rishi Sunak a sorely needed boost ahead of an election expected later this year. According to preliminary data from the Office for National Statistics, gross domestic products grew 0.6% in the first 3 months of the year. The increase follows falls of 0.3% in the fourth quarter and 0.1% in the third quarter of last year. But there are other signs the economy's prospects are brightening. In April, combined output in manufacturing and services grew at the strongest rate in almost a year. The news will provide some relief to Prime Minister Rishi Sunak and his ruling Conservative Party, which suffered heavy losses in local elections last week. Mr. Sunak suffered further embarrassment this week when one of his lawmakers defected to the opposition Labour Party.